Okay, tell us where it all began.
If it wasn't for my aunt Takalani, her personal style inspired me to start my own label. 15 years down the line, we have Seppo the Jean Maker, which is distributed globally.
So obviously when I just got into makeup, I had started watching videos on YouTube and tutorials and things like that. And so I started practicing on myself. Then I started practicing on my friends and family. And then I started practicing on anyone who had a face. I started my company, Switch Beauty, in the summer of 2014. I saw a gap in the market for an affordable, relatable beauty brand that was engaging with its consumers through social media.
Well, I feel in a way that tea found me. If I think about it, there's so many roads that led me to tea, and the first one is I grew up with a mom who is a tea connoisseur, and tea was such a big part of our family life.
I was raised by 3 strong black women. My mom, who was a domestic worker, and also my grandmother, who was a pastor. I remember when I was 9 years old, they bought me a suit, which I hated, for Sunday school. I remember on that Sunday I went to church, and everybody was wearing their Spider-Man t-shirts, and I'm wearing a suit. I was a joke of the day. But eventually I got out of that zone of being uncomfortable in my own skin to being comfortable with anything I wear.
The first time I created a tea, I wanted that tea to be an ode to my mother. Her middle name is Rose, and that tea I created, which was called African Queen. I kind of have this library of flavors and tastes that are just like all stored in my head, and that I can kind of pick and choose once I'm creating the teas.
I went into fashion because I wanted to create my own lane, and luckily I found something that had more value. I found something that's not in fashion, that's not trendy, but that's going to be there forever, which is jeans. Being in the fashion industry for almost 6 years, I've learned what works and what doesn't work and what makes me different from a whole lot of people. So for instance, you come into the shop, you pick the fabric, you choose the stitching, you choose the fit until we get it right. The button, the pocketing, the small detail that goes inside, the type of finishing that you'd like to have on a pair of jeans. So that's what makes our jeans special.
My first sale. Oh, I will never forget the story.
My first sale happened on the 29th of November by a guy named Ian Jawuke.
I just learned how to make an online store because I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, I need 20,000 Rand to build an online store. He was like, no. So I went online and I learned how to make an online store.
He's a person who can say, since I bought a pair of jeans from Mutsepong in 950 in 2015, I can see where my money has went. I can see that he's grown the business every time, from me being a one-man show to having 10 people working with me.
90% of my business is heart-driven and about 10% is head-driven, and then I leave also the head part to some other members of my team.
I think one thing that I really wanted to do different with Switch from the very beginning was make sure that it was a brand that was relatable versus big beauty conglomerate vibes. I kind of wanted to go more for the approach of we're a bunch of girls, we wear makeup, we like makeup. We know you do too. We're trying to give you what's best for you or what you want. And Facebook as a social media platform just really makes it easy for a brand to be relatable in that way, to communicate with your consumer in that way. Because I mean, where do you find the bulk of your Gen Z and millennial consumers? On their cell phones, right?
With my brand, Iswara, it's all about beauty. So if you go on Iswara's Facebook or Instagram, what we are sharing is beauty and inspiration, because this is what the brand is about. It's kind of a soulful, I call it Afro-Zen beauty. Our universe is art, is culture, is all these beautiful things. So you would rarely see me as a person on the Iswara social media, because it is really about Iswara as a person.
I use a couple key products off of Facebook. Instagram. Is Instagram a product? Yes. I think so. Maybe. The reason why a lot of people don't buy makeup online is because of the powder format's fragility in transit. Obviously, we needed to counter this in some way and use some kind of protective packaging measure. So we settled on bubble wrap. But why use regular bubble wrap when you can use pink bubble wrap?
With the rise of social media, with the rise of Facebook, we've been able to reach places and people that I personally would not reach. Coming from Metakane, now we are available to the world.